यज्जाग्रतो दूरमुदैति दैवं तदु सुप्तस्य तथैवैति दूरङ्गमं ज्योतिषां ज्योतिरेकम् तन्मे मनः शिवसङ्कल्पमस्तु येन कर्माण्यपसो मनीषिणो यज्ञे कृण्वन्ति विदधेषु धीराः यदपूर्वं यक्षमन्तः प्रजानाम् तन्मे मनः शिवसङ्कल्पमस्तु यत्प्रज्ञानमुत चेतो धृतिश्च यज्ज्योतिरन्तरमृतं प्रजासु यस्मान्नृते किञ्चन कर्म क्रियते तन्मे मनः शिवसङ्कल्पमस्तु येनेदं भूतं भुवनं भविष्यत् परिगृहीतममृतेन सर्वम् येन यज्ञस्तायते सप्तहोता तन्मे मनः शिवसङ्कल्पमस्तु यस्मिन् ऋचः सामयजूगुंषि यस्मिन् प्रतिष्ठिता रथनाभाविवाराः यस्मिन् कश्चित्तगुं सर्वमोतं प्रजानान् तन्मे मनः शिवसङ्कल्पमस्तु सुषारथिरश्वानिव यन्मनुष्यान्नेनीयतेभिषुभिर्वाजिन इव हृत्प्रतिष्ठं यदजिरञ्जविष्ठम् तन्मे मनः शिवसङ्कल्पमस्तु
सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यं निजान्तर्गतम् पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्भूत् भूतं यथा निद्रया यत्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयम् तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So we'll continue with reviewing the 6 mantras of Shiva Sankalpa Suktam. Also, it is a complete Upanishad, Shri Shiva Sankalpa Upanishad. You can, that's also available. I think it's the same name. What we had done last week was to do mantra number 3 partially. So today I think what we will do is to complete mantra number 3, and then possibly mantra number 4, because I think now it is coming, becoming shorter. Much of the groundwork has already been laid in, especially in mantra number 1, which is the important one. But as you progress, it's a building on process, and it's a little faster close. So we will possibly even do verse number 4, and if time permits, then we will do a Nididhyasanam for both 3 and 4. So that will leave 2 mantras for next time, and I will talk about what we are going to do after these 6 mantras are complete. Okay, so last week we had seen the first line in some detail, Prajnanam uta chetaha dhritischa jyotirantaram amritam prajasu. So, Jyoti Antaram Prajasu, and also in the next one that we're going to do, Amritena Sarvam, all refers to the same thing, which means, and this is the important thing to see, that each living being has the capability of being unaffected by what is going on in our lives. We have that capability. Every living being has that capability. It's not only some beings. It's not as though you invoke it, you don't start it, you don't build it, you don't manufacture it. It's there. So in the case of the animal kingdom, they do not have the ability to recognize that amritam that we have. This is why the Manushya Sharira is so important and so rare. I don't know how sometimes we read this in science, that the number of species in this, on this earth is literally infinite. It is uncountable. I know that I read somewhere that the scientists were saying that above the ground, they have categorized most of the species. But below the water, in the sea, it's a very small percentage that we have seen. Every time we find some new creature that has come up. The human being is only one of millions of species. I'm not talking about jivas. Species. Swami Akhadananda points out that if you knew the species that dwell in your own body, you are the leader of them, and they are all saying me, me, me. Millions of species. Nowadays, there is a new science of the analysis of the gut, and how many probiotic and antibiotic and all kinds of creatures live in our gut that govern our health. Anyway, all I'm saying is that we have the ability, each jiva, and really speaking, you and I, we are only one jiva out of this body, out of millions of jivas that live here. Amazing, really. So each jiva has the ability to be independent of what is happening outside. But the human being can actually recognize that. So as we go through these verses, I think one cardinal rule of Vedanta It really is a very, very key aspect of recognizing this. The advice by our acharyas. And what it says is, and we will build on it on number 3 and 4, but I'm just giving you the crux of this important recognition that we should pursue, which is this. If we are tied up with things that we experience, so drishya, if we are, in Sanskrit there is a word called asakti. So this word asakti is used very often. Asakti means holding on to. And holding on to not through vichara, not through analysis, not through Buddhism, but just holding on to it. Just holding on to it. It's called asakti. Swami Maheshananji had given this very beautiful example. He had given this an Indian political context, but we apply it to the American political context, which is this. Suppose you are a Democrat. Many of us Indians are Democrats. And don't ask, why did you do that? We just feel Democrats are more liberal, more left-leaning, and generally, resonate with our own thinking. So we have become a Democrat. And actually, this is what is happening. Quite frankly, even I am very affected by this. Not deeply affected, but I notice it. The Democratic Party is becoming undisciplined and also too much left-leaning. And I feel that I'm not sure that I could be a Democrat. But you know what happens for most of us? This is what asakti means. We don't question. You look at the conduct of Trump, who is a Republican. And it is really just an amazing thing to me that despite his many, many strange actions, the Republican, including the fact that he thinks that the whole election was stolen from him. The majority of the Republican Party do not really disagree with him. This is an amazing thing to me. And you know why? This is what asakti means. You talk to somebody, usually we don't have a dialogue with somebody who really is believing in Trump because it turns into an argument and nobody wins. But suppose you were to talk to someone and say, why are you supporting Trump? Hasn't he done all this, that, or the other? He said, yes, but I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I think I'm just continue to be a Republican. So this is what is called asakti. You hold on to it without really thinking deeply about it. I mean, even if the logic is something which is dispelling your basic belief in that, even then you hold on to it. This is an interesting thing to see, and this is very important. I tell you, this is in the Vedantic study. So what is being said is that as long as we have an asakti towards what I see and experience, in general, You can include Democratic, Republican, Congress, BJP, whatever you want to do. And you could include your family, friends, experiences, and we do. Because all those help me to become even more involved in the world. So here is the advice given, which is behind all this. This is important to see. In general, if you have as long as, forget about the word in general, as long as you have an asakti towards drishya, as long as you have the asakti to drishya, as long as you are very vulnerable to death, you are inviting death. It is a very strong statement. You know, in the thinking of Advaita Vedanta, death is not considered to be the non-functioning of the body at the end of this so-called life. This is what everybody says. Oh, he's died. Oh, he's still alive. He's dead. Passed on. You see this every day. In Vedanta, that is not considered to be death. Really, I'm just telling you. And I think you know this already. But there is death. And so, why is the cessation of the body not considered to be classically the death? Because that is just a pause. Because that means that your computer hardware has broken down. So as it usually happens, you have a license from Microsoft for Windows 365. Nowadays, they're all very clever. They don't just give you a one-time thing. You have to buy a license and it goes on forever. Somebody discovered this trick to make more money and now everybody has it. What is it called? Service subscription or something. There's some technical word for it. So this Microsoft 365 is you already bought the license. I just renewed mine. I even forget how much it is. It was somewhere in December. Automatically renewal. Your credit card is put. So once that happens and your hardware breaks down, no problems. No problem. You just go to Best Buy and just get a brand new hardware. This just happened to me. I just bought a new laptop and then I wanted to see. So the person asked me, do you have the Windows 365? I said, yes, I have it for my desktop. He says, yeah. So just tell them, in fact, it will recognize it. As soon as you log in, they will say, there's a new device, and they'll put that software in. This is exactly what happens at the end of the life, that our body breaks down, but no problems. The whole person, with the mind, with the sankalpas, with the backgrounds, with tendencies. This is what Sukma Sharira is, software. The hardware is a very small percentage of our life. If we have some physical problems, yes, that's when the hardware comes in. But most of the time, our issues, problems, our disappointments, our sukha dukkha is all due to software. And that continues on. So then, in Vedanta, it is not considered to be the death. But there is something called death. There is something. It's not, that is not called death, but there is something else that is called death. What is that? That means your asakti, your, I don't mean you, our asakti towards drishya. How is that a death? Because every moment we do tiraskara of the Atma. This tiraskara of the Paramatma, which is myself. Tiraskara means we ignore it, we insult it, we are not aware of it, we don't appreciate it, we have complete ignorance about it, we ignore it. You know, this is exactly like supposing you have a guest who's come to, your spouse has invited them, some people, for dinner. And they're supposed to be your guest. And you ignore them. You don't listen to them. If they have some story to say, you start scratching your head and start looking at your cell phone. It means that you just disregard their presence. How would they feel? Would you not get some bad vibes from them? Sure. This is exactly what happens. We ignore our Atma. We ignore the Paramatma who's standing right next to me. Who's me? I don't recognize it. No, I am just going to look around. Netflix. What's on Netflix next? And you call people up and say, somebody calls you up and says, hey, there's a new movie on Netflix. You must see that. Nowadays, I find a lot of the talk is about, they don't go to movie houses and so on and so forth, but Netflix is the one that people are now. So you say, okay, now I'm going to see that. When you do that, you are so enamored with the world outside that disappointments, sukha dukkha, touch me every minute. And something which is enormously pleasant, which is Ananda Swarupa, which does not die, is ignored by me. So this is now in summary, this is the basic concept that we should understand. That as long as I'm holding on to things that are really unreal, short-lived, grief-causing. I mean, this is the thing, we make a double mistake. That's what I wanted to say. We make a double mistake. We don't recognize the defects of having asakti towards the world, number one. We don't understand the defect. What is it called? Yeah. There's a Sanskrit, there's a proverb in Sanskrit called Dosha Darshanam Pandita Lakshanam. Dosha Darshanam Pandita Lakshanam. Means once the wise know the defect in things. And so, look, for example, if you have diabetes like I do, and you are, in the beginning, you are unaware of what diabetes is, what sugar level can do, all those kinds of things, and you are oblivious of it. You don't know the defects in eating sweets, laddus, ice creams, a lot of sugar. You don't know the defect of it, so you just consume it and it creates problems. But once you become wizened up, now you're aware of carbohydrates. The other day I have I'm having a special problem with my sugar because I had some muscular disease that came up about 3-4 months ago. It's called PMR. Those of you that are doctors will recognize it. And the symptom of it was that my whole major muscle groups like shoulders, hips, knees, near thighs, etc. were extremely painful, unusually painful. I couldn't even bend down to tie my shoelaces. So I finally took the advice of a doctor, and they had some blood tests done, and he says, "Aha, you have PMR." So I had no idea what PMR is. And really, there is not much of a good news. Once it attacks you, it may last you for your life. The only thing you have to do is you have to take prednisone, which is a wonder drug. And as soon as I took prednisone, my whole PMR went out. But prednisone creates a lot of side effects, and one of them is my sugar level has gone up. So I consulted this wonderful endocrinologist, Yalamanchi, in Palo Alto Medical Clinic. And so she said, "Mr. Kapoor, you have a problem and you have to really watch your diet." I said, I have diabetes, but my regular doctor didn't really create any problem. But she says, "No, this is special." So then she said, "What do you have for lunch? What do you have for?" She reviewed the whole thing. And unfortunately, she says, dosas and idlis and rice things and so on, you have to really almost cut out completely. And even though I'm a North Indian, I love dosas and idlis. So what to do? Now I have, when I see dosa, masala dosa, I know the defect in it for me. It has too much carbohydrates. It's going to kill me if I eat it. So dosha darshanam pandita lakshanam. So we make two mistakes. One is that we don't realize the defect of being involved in things that I am seeing. We feel, it's okay, life goes on, it's all right. If you want freedom, you have to see the defect of it, which we will see in great detail in the Mandukya class. This is just a short introduction to it. The second mistake you do is you do not appreciate the mahima, the grandeur of the Atma. You don't appreciate it. You ignore it. I'm just a sakshi, I'm just watching everything, it's okay. Do you know what it really means to understand Parameshwara? To see Parameshwara? We don't understand that. We don't appreciate it. So that we have a twin defect. We don't see the defect of Anatma, and we don't see the Mahima of the Atma. And as a result, I'm stuck in birth and death, birth and death, birth and death. This is what death is all about, really, from a standpoint of Vedanta. So anyway, This is the common concept that we must keep in mind. And so, what the implication of this is that it is childish of me. Childish, not childlike. I remember my parents when I was a small, they explained to my father in particular was very particular about grammar, spellings, and so on. And I still remember this. I think I was like 41 or 42. You would think 41, 42. So one day I got my letter from my dad, and he was just saying, Vijay, how old are you now? You still do not know how to spell separate. Because I think I used to spell it as Seperate instead of Separate. So he admonished me. You would think that, but he just thought that I'm making a stupid mistake. I should learn how to do that. And so really speaking, the key thing that we need to know is, what is it the implication of this, and what do I need to do? And here the acharyas say that you'll be childish. You are being childish, not childlike. Because I remember my dad made that distinction very clear to me between childish and childlike. Childlike is good. That means I don't have an ego. I just enjoy. I'm singing songs, and what people likes and dislikes have not affected me. This is a very good thing to do. They say that our growth should become where we become childlike again. Because otherwise I have my own cocoon. I like only people if they agree with me on these things. I don't like people do this. We have all kinds of hang-ups. The child doesn't have any hang-ups yet. It will develop it later on. But childishness means just, I want this, I can't live without it. No, you can't have this. This is what childishness is. So, acharyas say that if you want to really achieve freedom, you please reverse your focus. Disregard what you are seeing and turn the attention about the mahima of the seer. And don't say, oh, I know the seer, there's nothing much to it. You don't. Otherwise, you will not be behaving the way you are. You don't appreciate it. You need to appreciate it. You need to learn. And the more focus you have on the seer, the Atma. Here Swami Akhandananda was talking about it, and I'm just giving you a kind of an introduction to the gist of both 3 and 4. He had really done this in more, and I'll come to it, and I'll explain what I mean by it. But he says, do you know it? What the Sakshi, the Atma, You know what it is? Do you know what it looks like? Do you have any idea? Do you know what the shape is? Because there's another, as you know, there's another beautiful saying in Sanskrit and Vedanta, which says, Lakshana pramanabhyam vastu siddhi. Lakshana pramanabhyam vastu siddhi. What it means is that if you want to know something well, accurately, is what siddhi means. Siddhi means that, yes, I know, it's done. Sadhya means to be done, to be known. Siddhi means, Siddha Purusha means it's done, accomplished. So, Vastu Siddhi depends on two things. One is Lakshana and one is Pramana. So, Lakshana means something that is unique, something which is unique to that Vastu. Vastu means something real, some real thing. You can't even call it a thing because a thing means a jada vastu, like a table is a thing. But you can call it a person, you can even say, because a person means, say, a Chaitanya Purusha. So, for that to be accomplished, you must know the uniqueness of that person. So there are millions of people on this earth, and everybody is unique. And if you want to know someone out of this population of, 8 billion people now, then you must know what is the lakshana of that person. What does that person look like? Where he or she might be? How is it related? All of that you have to know. And then the other thing is, you need to know, how am I going to know that person? That also you must know. Because if you don't inquire into it, then you cannot say, I know the person. So you must know the person either by it could even be through an email, and could be through a FaceTime, or could be a travel to that person, or whatever. So now the question is, the Atma that you are either completely ignoring, you don't know what Atma is, or just as bad, if it has been at least described to you, you do not fully understand the description. And so as a result of that, you cannot say, I know the Atma. And included in that, of course, is that the Atma is not something that you can see through your sense organs. It is not an object. It is, in fact, the presence of something that activates the sense organs. It is behind the sense organs. So how can the sense organs are only limited to seeing that they are capable articulating and seeing. But the Atma is the one which is powering the very sense organs which are seeing. You cannot see it as an object. If that is the case, then how am I going to know that? So there, Lakshana is used and Pramana is used because that theorem, Lakshana Pramanabhyam Eva, you can even add the word Eva, only by Lakshana and Pramana a Vastu Siddhi can take place. So if that is the case, then the Atma needs to be described fully and explained fully by one who understands the Atma, which is the Shastra, through a valid teacher. And so, as Swami Vivekananda just poses some questions, and he says, do you know? Have you inquired? Have you been taught? Are you aware of? Do you appreciate what the Atma looks like? Where is it? If it is only in you, how do you know that it's only you? If it is the basis of the whole creation, which means that it is everywhere, how? Are you aware of that? What is the weight of it? What is the color of the Atma? When did it begin? When was it born? Was it born? People say it cannot die. Why not? Do you know that? You say Ananda, 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 all over Ananda. Where is the Ananda? What is the source of it? How can Ananda be the Atma when I don't experience it? This is a lot of work that has to be done. A lot of appreciation that needs to be done. It's not just a casual thing. You are the Atma, close your eyes. Your mind will all make fun of you. Okay, so you asked me to shut up and just close the eyes. Okay, let's do it. How long, by the way? 5 minutes. 5 minutes? That's too long, but okay, I'll do it. All right. After 5 minutes, the mind says, well, what happened? Did you find it? And he said, no, I'm still trying. How long are you going to keep trying this? Who are you fooling? All kinds of questions in the mind will come up. If we make shortcuts and pretend I know, not going to happen. So what that means is that through the Lakshana and Pramana, a very thorough examination has to be done. And quite frankly, this is another thing that, so I would say that there are two things that I'm pointing out in this class. One is that if you want to achieve timelessness, then reduce the asakti to drishya. Don't worry about Netflix. Don't worry about going to new restaurants. Whatever needs to be done, do it. But this is what is called kamya karma matistyajyatam. Sadhana panchakam. Beautiful. Kamya karma matistyajyatam. That it would be nice to do this. This is what is called kamya karma. What is necessary is a very minimum, do it. Clothes have to be washed? Yes. No problems. You're hungry, you have to get food? Yes. You don't have to get tasty food, but just food. You have to protect your pets? Yes. Children? Yes. All those kinds of things? Yes. Make some money? Yes. But this kamya karma, that would be nice if we did this. When you're looking at brochures for visiting, that is asakti. And so the first important thing, I'm not even taking those 2 or 3 mantras, but the 2 important things, one is this and the other one I'll talk next. So one thing is that if you want to achieve timelessness, then you have limited energy, limited focus, limited ability. We all have limitations but whatever we have, focus on the drik, not the drishya. Resolve to become very knowledgeable about the drik, everything about the drik. If you do, you have a very good chance of achieving independence from death and ananda while living. So this is one important thing to keep in mind. The other important thing, which we are going to talk a lot in the Mandukya course, is don't pause at just understanding the Sakshi. You see, so changing the focus from drishya to drik is a very important step, crucial step, as we have talked about it. But it is only a partial step. That doesn't solve the complete problem. Why it doesn't solve the problem, we'll go into considerable technical detail in the Mandukya course. But very briefly, the reason it is not a complete solution, it is only a first step, is that now you still have Dvaita. You still have duality. I am the Sakshi and I am seeing things. I am the Drik and this is Drishya. You have not really inquired into the relative realities of both, because in the normal analysis you have made some viveka, we agree. Before that you were completely foolish. Now you are partially foolish, because you have at least done some viveka between drik and drishya. as that book also that we study, Drik Drishya Viveka. Loch Rupam Drishyam Lochanam Drik Tadrishyam Driktumanasam. What is it? Tadrishu Takdiktumanasam Drishyadhi Vrittaya Sakshi Drige Vanatu Drishyate. So that's the beginning understanding of what is to be seen and what is the seer. The seer doesn't change, the drishya changes, all those kinds of things. But despite that, you see, so for example, suppose you say Drik doesn't change. Okay, I understand Drik doesn't change because I'm the same person. I know, I am. That's absolutely right. I don't change. And Drishya completely changes. Sometimes it is night, sometimes it is day, sometimes it is good, sometimes bad, sometimes Republicans win, sometimes Democrat. All this keeps on changing. Okay, good. So now I have separated them. So what have we achieved? Really speaking, not much yet. We have taken some initial steps, but both of them are competing entities, if you may. That's not what Advaita Vedanta is. It's a huge next step that has to be done with many sub-steps. What need to be understood is that one of them is Satyam, the other one is Mithya, and Mithya does not have the same level of reality. So there's only one reality. What that means is, you know what that means? What I am seeing is also I. This is called Advaita Vedanta. Advayam, not Dvayam. There is no duality, it is non-duality. So that is what we need to understand. And my mind can't even grasp that. It doesn't even admit to, it's not even willing to make that as into a goal. It says, no, that's not possible. Okay, fine, all right. Goodbye. Can't, if you don't want to look into that, no, that's not possible. I am just here and the whole world is there. What are you talking about? I can see I'm a Sakshi. But to see the whole world, implications are just amazing. We will study this. This is why this whole Karika thing is, anyway, why am I talking more about Karika? Perhaps as an advertisement, that if you really want to understand Advaita Vedanta, you have to go through the whole course. It's not a simple thing. Anyway, I think I ended up giving a lot of these generic concepts rather than the specific things. So the initial plan to do what I wanted to do is out of the window. So the only thing I can do is just continue on with some of the stuff, and then we can wrap it up whole next week. So wrap up what I wanted to do next week. All right, so in verse number 3, which said, Yat prajnanam uta chetaha dhritischa yad jyoti antaram amritam prajasu. This we have pretty much seen. We have seen prajnanam, Jnanam Chetaha, Dhriti. Dhriti can also be seen as Shraddha. As Shraddha. Because the Shraddha is necessary in this Vedanta, not belief. Not belief. Because belief means to close my eyes and say, okay, whatever you say is good. I'm not going to question it. Shraddha is far from it. Shraddha means that what you're saying seems to make sense, but I don't get it yet. And I'm not willing to walk away from it, which many people do. So, Swami Dayananji also used to say this. I remember this so well. When we had our last kind of like a graduation at PRC, and so Swamiji was saying, okay, this is it. You've been with me for 2.5 years and so on. Now we've completed it. My best wishes to you. If there are some questions, that we can do a satsang. And I remember I was the one who asked him that. I said, Swamiji, if there is one thing that I need to really make sure that I do in order to complete this study, what will it be? And my question had not even finished when he said, oh, Shraddha. So in Shastra also he says, Shraddhavan eva labate jnanam. That unless you have Shraddha, Shraddha means don't give up just because you don't see it, because we have to reorient our mind, because I am only used to seeing things that I can see as a drishya. And the drik cannot be seen, and yes, it can be seen when pointed out by someone. I cannot see the advayata of the whole world, that I am the whole thing. This I cannot see easily, because my mind rebels against it. But that is the truth that has to be pointed out again and again with love, with repetition. All those things have to be done. And that requires Shraddha. So the Dhriti here really refers to less to a kind of a loyalty or anything like that, just a sense that, because you get a glimpse of it. You may not get a complete understanding, but the glimpse is enough that you want to understand the whole thing. That's called Dhritischa. Yat pragyana mutta cheto dhritischa yat jyotihi antaramritam. So this antaramritam jyotihi. So here, one interesting thing to see, one way to look at it, is that the mind is also the Atma in the form of a reflection. It's a reflection of the Atma, the mind. Even though the mind is jada, not chetanam, there's only one chetana vastu, which is the Atma, Paramatma, Jivatma, only one. But the mind, manaha, tanme manaha Shiva Sankalpa vastu, that manaha is indeed just a copy. It's a reflection. But even though it is a reflection, until it is until it is erased by jnanam, it stays there, not being disturbed by anything else. So in that sense, it is amritam. When we said the software is amritam. You know, sometimes they say this, so these words are used somewhat loosely. When you say, may that person died, and then may his soul live forever. What does that mean? The soul live forever. The soul in Vedanta is the manaha. Sadgatihi. So we say, may the mind, so may the person live happily wherever he is or she is. You know, we say that, which is good. Anyway, a lot to talk about that in our bigger class. So, so the manaha stays on as a reflection, still not real, but as a reflection it stays on. Software lives on. Different shariras come up. And one day you recognize, oh my goodness, I am just the reflection. A reflection of what? Reflection of the real Vastu, which is the Atma. Once that understanding takes place, then there are not two people. You and the reflection are not two people. You realize I am the same person. One is real, the other one is a reflection. Mind is gone. You can break the mirror at that point. Only Atma remains. The Atma was still there before, but not recognized as the Vastu behind all the reflections of the world. So in that sense, this word Amritam, here Swami Akhandananda has pointed out that sometimes when a thing has to be emphasized as being very key, then it is repeated. So here the word Amritam occurs in number 3 and also in number 4. Yena idam bhutam bhuvanam bhavishyat parigrihitam amritena sarvam. So the same Amrita comes there also. So we will talk about that when we go to number 4. But let's finish the words for number 3. So then the second, I think we have done all of the first line. The second line is Yasmat na rite kinchana karma kriyate. So what that means is, no karma is done. Na karma kriyate. No action is done without whom. Yasmat na rite. If that is, rite means absence of. If it is not there, you cannot do any karma. So what that means is, really speaking, that all activities, all actions, all experiences involve the mind. It is behind all activities. And sometimes pleasant activities, unpleasant activities, but behind all activities, behind all action, all the organs of action, Behind organs of knowledge, the mind is there. The mind is, you cannot, the first thing that occurs is that you have a thought, I should do this. Then you do it. Or when you see something and you say, I see something. So all the jnana indriyas, karma indriyas, behind that is really the mind. And the mind which is powerful, but not completely under your control. It does what it does. And it has tendencies to lead you into problems. And so then we know, how do we turn the same mind, which can become a instrument of my problems, turn that into something which is much more useful to me, which leads me to freedom. And that is Tanme Mana Shiva Sankalpa Vastu. May the same mind, which is preoccupied in drishya at the moment, may the same mind, the power of this very powerful mind. So all these verses that we are studying, Jagrato Duram Udaiti Devam Karmani Tapasa Apasaha Manishina Pragyanam, etc., all that, very powerful. But in the wrong direction. Where is the wrong direction? I am too preoccupied in things that are unimportant for me. I see the drishya, and like a child, I am just playing with things in the world, not realizing there is something much more important that I should do. So it's very much like that, that the mind has to be trained, has to be managed. When the power of the mind, which is useless at the moment, relatively useless, can become much more powerful if it is turned towards an examination of the self. So that's the feeling of it. And so this is now further explained. I'll just very briefly say that, and then we can go much more detail. Number 4, Yena idam bhutam bhuvanam bhavishyat parigrihitam amritena sarvam. So as an example of the childishness of the mind, bhutam bhuvanam bhavishyat. Bhutam means the past, bhavishyat means what is to come, and bhuvanam means the variegated present. So as an example, we won't spend much more time on this because I have more to talk about the next time. But Swami Akhandananda says, just look. Bhutam is past time, means dead time, dead experiences. How much more unreal can it get? At least the present appears to be real. But the past is dead. And also unimportant, not capable of bothering me, but it does. But it does. Our mind gives unnecessary importance to what has gone by. This is why old memories, certainly the ones that bother you, Don't go away. You are still clinging to it. What an example where I'm clinging to a sense of limitation, even though I don't need to. Bhutam is gone. It was actually unreal to begin with. Even when it was present, it was unreal. Now it has become even more unreal. But no. This is why we talk about history. And we are bothered by it. And we are governed by it. And we are upset. We continue to be upset by it. And so we have created a net around us where I'm actually now living thoughts with respect to the past, inquiring, and so on. And the same thing is going to happen for the future, which is a non-entity. It may or may not happen, but I'm very worried about it. What about this? What about that? And then bhuvanam. So the bhuvanam also means that I am, instead of just looking at things that I need to do, I get involved with things that I have nothing to do with, but I get involved. Kamya karma. So the mind in this example is the one which is unnecessarily tying me down through the very passage of time. Why? Because I am not understanding the essence of timelessness on which time depends. It is anadi. There's no such thing as, you cannot tell when past began. You cannot tell that. There's no way to tell that. You cannot objectify it, you cannot quantify it. And the same thing is there for the future. It's just not there, it's mithya. And the variety of things that seem to be absorbing me in terms of bhuvanam, it doesn't make any difference. I am what I am. And I don't examine that. I'm much more involved in what does people think about me. And that person is good, that person is not good. This is what I'm involved in. I'm not understanding the very essence of the consciousness that I am. And so the mind is capable of leading me. This whole thing is a mind which is preoccupied with drishya. And this whole thing is yena idam bhutam bhuvanam bhavishyat parigrihitam. It's hanging on to it. Asakti. We should recognize it and understand that I am somewhat different from that. And not just by saying I'm the Sakshi, but to understand the very importance of what the Sakshi is. And so this is how, so I think we've covered quite a bit of the number 4 also. I'll spend some more time on number 4. And then we will do a short meditation on both number 3 and number 4 together next time when we meet. Okay, with that, let me close the class today and we'll go from there. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ All right. Good to see you all. Amit, I have not seen you in these classes recently. You must be either traveling or you were not logging into it. Anyway, it's nice to see you there. So Bala Maniji, you're saying is vichara an inquiry into Paramatma in this life may continue in next birth? Can I presume this concept? So if I understand your question, presuming the concept of the continuity of vichara, if that is your question, of course. The vichara can an inquiry. It's an inquiry. Vichara means an inquiry, as you rightly point out. The inquiry has to have an end, and it can have this in this life, or if the question is, and this is the same question that Arjuna asks Sri Krishna in the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, that tell me, if my life should end without my vichara culminating in an understanding, what would happen to me in my next life? So here Krishna says, listen, it's don't think that I will forget something, because what you're doing, what you're inquiring about, where you are, is known to me. It's all known to me. And so don't you think that will I forget it? Forget about you forgetting it. I cannot forget. Don't presume that I will forget it. So we will make sure that whatever progress you have made is protected and conditions are created for you to continue your progress towards an understanding. And so this is part and parcel of the covenant with Ishvara. The covenant with Ishvara is that you start your inquiry on me, and I will make sure that it gets complete for you. Hopefully in this life itself. If not, we will continue it in one form or the other in the next life. Yeah. All right, very good. Don't see any other questions, so I will hopefully see you next week. Hari Om.